Look at the screen. Point to me.
Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Toledo. I'm Joe Moran, this morning's worship associate, and I'll be assisting Reverend Tim Barger, our senior minister. We are glad you chose to be with us this morning. We are a church with no dogma or creed other than to our doctrine, other than to love one another, to seek the truth, and to help one another. If you are visiting today, you will find a card in the pew rack in front of you, and if you fill it out, you'll receive information about church activities and opportunities, and allow us to learn something about yourself. Again, we are glad you are here. Now please join me in reciting the covenant of this church in your order of service. I think it'll also be on our screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Hello, I'm Reverend Tim, and welcome you here in the sanctuary on Labor Day weekend, as well as you who are watching on YouTube, either our live stream or tuning in at a later time. We're still here. Part of the beginning of the service is to mention things that are on our minds, in our hearts, with our spirits. For some people, these are the focus for the upcoming time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. But we bring them up here for the entire Sunday service, and before or after too, as for some of us, they describe parts of our lives. These are dimensions of living that stay with us beyond a brief time of looking inward. This is Labor Day weekend,
And as many nations celebrate workers and the labor movement on May 1st, United States tradition is this time in September. While we note the importance of unions, I add that I was a member of Local 34043 of the Communications Workers of America when I worked for the Toledo Blade. And the Toledo News Guild and its fellow union at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette are both in 2 long negotiations over workers' contracts. I wish management would treat labor well with good agreements. And Labor Day is also the symbolic end of summer. We'll be thinking summer over this next week, I understand, with hot conditions in the forecast. We have the weather as an immediate experience, but we know that climate change is related. While we change some of our habits, whether back to work or school after a vacation, making wardrobe changes for our outdoor comfort, maybe getting serious about applying ourselves to tasks after seeing summer as a take-it-easy time, may we also do better in caring for our planet. Death and illness are always among us. Last week, the mother of a church member died. This week, the mother of another member died. And this week, the partner of a congregation supporter died after an illness. We also know about deaths of people in our circles outside of our church, and we hold their precious lives here too. May the people grieving have our comforts. Plus, this was a week for us once again to marvel at the magnificence of the cosmos. India launched a vessel on the moon and landed a vessel on the moon and launched a satellite to explore the sun. In the sky, we could witness what was called a blue supermoon. And recently, the Webb telescope photographed what looks like an interstellar question mark. There is always awe in the universe. As well, you might have your own items for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. We are here in community, and though yours are unvoiced, in a way, we can carry your vibe too. We are together in fact and in spirit. And now please join us for our opening hymn. Today it's number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And with the help of some members of the choir, Gretchen Ritchie, Carol Titus, Tom Sheehan, while Randy plays the piano, we'll sing it together first, 2 times around, and then we'll try it as a simple 2-part round. Here in the sanctuary, we'll divide parts at the aisle. So for you watching at home, you get to sing along however you please. And so those are the basic instructions. The first time for the round will be on this side, and then you guys will come in and follow along with our choristers and maybe, unfortunately, me.
2 times, everybody together first.
Come, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worship, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yeah, come, come. Come, come, whoever you are, worship, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yeah, come, come, whoever you are.
waterworks, leaving, under no care nor despair. Come again, come. The final time. Come to everyone, waterworks, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come.
Maybe that woke us up a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to first invite all of my littlest friends to come forward if you would like to, so that you are better able to see. If you want to stay where you are, that's fine too. Who knows what we have here? The Wonder Box.
The box.
Everybody say ooh.
Ooh.
Everybody say ah.
Ah.
Who would like to open the Wonder Box and tell us what's inside? Ivy. Maybe next time, Susie. What did you say this first thing was? There's paper, roses, and bread. So who wants to guess what we're talking about today? What is tomorrow?
Labor Day.
Labor Day. Who knows what Labor Day honors? Workers. And not the whole world full of workers. It's more about the people who work lower wage jobs, maybe that are a little bit physically more difficult. It's not so much for the rich people as it is for the rest of us. So I'm going to take you back to 1912. There was a town called Lawrence, Massachusetts, and this town was nicknamed Immigrant City. Lawrence was built on textile mills. Who can tell me what textiles are? Fabric, clothes, right. They would take wool from the sheep or cotton from the ground, clean it, turn it into thread or yarn, turn that yarn into fabric. And the vast majority of people worked in the textile mills. And this work was hard. 1/3 of all the people who worked in the textile mills died before they were 25. And the workers were not just adults. The biggest factory in town was the Wood Woolen Works, I think, and half of their employees were girls under the age of 18. Children have always worked in this country. They've worked in the family farm, they've worked on the home, but the work in the factories was extremely dangerous. And the children were hired because they could be paid less and because they were so small. They could reach into moving machinery or crawl under moving machinery, and it was extremely dangerous. The kids would also go to work when it was still dark outside and come home when it was dark outside. The legislature in Massachusetts passed a law that said that women and children could not work more than 54 hours a week. Before that, they had been working 56 hours a week. So just for reference, kids, you guys spend roughly 35 hours per week in school now. If you worked 56 hours a week, that would be 8 hours a day, every single day. And the legislature had passed these laws before, but this time what happened was the workers had their pay reduced. And you might think, well, sure, that makes sense. If you work two fewer hours, you get docked 2 hours of pay. But the factory owners, in response to this law, had just sped up the machinery. So the women and children and men who were working there were still producing as much fabric in a shorter amount of time. When they sped up the machinery, it became more dangerous. The workers did not realize that their pay was being docked until they received their pay envelopes at the end of the day. This was on January 12th. So they opened their paychecks and they called it short pay. They said, "We've been shorted, it's short pay." The Polish women were the first to walk out. Who are going to be my strikers? Ivy. The problem was this was immigrant city, and the Polish women didn't speak French. The French women didn't speak English. The Americans didn't speak Portuguese. The Portuguese didn't speak Spanish. The Spanish didn't speak Greek. The Greeks didn't speak Italian. Thank you. The Italians didn't speak Swedish. The Swedes didn't speak Lithuanian. The Lithuanians didn't speak Irish Gaelic. All of these people had to get together and strike together if they were going to have their power, and they did. One day after the strike began, 10,000 workers had walked off of their jobs. These people had to coordinate. They had to get messages to each other via a game of telephone. They had to trust each other to all strike at the same time, and they did. They went together and created their power. The strike was messy. It was violent. People were beaten. People were killed. A bomb was set off. I hope we can talk about that at a later time. But in response to all this violence, the families sent their children away to somewhere safer and somewhere where the parents were earning more money so that they could eat. And these children weren't just the children of the workers, they were the workers. So all of the children were sent to families in New York so that they could be sheltered and fed. And the media turned out for the kids' arrival in New York. And it was a huge disaster for the textile mills because people started questioning, well, what's going on with this strike? Why are the children not safe there? How are the children being treated? So that first trainload of kids went to New York. That was 119 kids. Subsequently, the families tried to send another trainload of kids up to New York to be safe. What are the flowers for? Yeah. They're just to look at. You want to hold one? Yeah. They tried to get a second trainload of kids to go to New York, but the police showed up. And the police started beating the women and the children, dragging the women away, putting them in jail with their babies in their arms. If the mill owners thought that the first children's exodus was a PR massacre, the second one was even worse. And the mill owners began to realize that they were losing. And so by March, I think 23rd, 2 months after the strike began, all of the workers who struck were given their jobs back. They got a raise in pay. They got overtime pay, not be retaliated against. And within a few months, 275,000 factory workers across New England were given the same benefits. So this was a strike that went down in history because it was so massive, so difficult to coordinate, and so successful. And strikes are still going on today. We've got writers who write TV shows and movies, they're on strike right now. Right now, we've got legislators who are trying to reduce protections for working children. Right now, we've got people who are saying on TV that it's right and natural that thousands of Americans should go hungry while just a few dozen Americans have more money than they could ever spend in 2 lifetimes. So the Bread and Roses strike is a lesson from history that still matters today. And the last thing I want to mention is the name of the strike. Why was it called the Bread and Roses strike? We want bread. Sure, people want to eat, they want food, they want enough money to support their families. What did they mean by we want roses too? Does anybody have any guesses?
I do.
What's your guess? Beauty. That's right. They wanted beauty in their lives. They wanted time to appreciate beauty. They wanted time to spend with their families. They wanted a little dignity. They wanted time to learn. They wanted to be lifted out of this grinding poverty that kept them from seeing the sun 7 days a week. And so that is something that we still think about today. People deserve not just a living wage, but a thriving wage. So thank you to my strikers. And please read up more on the Bread and Roses strike because there's so much more that I couldn't get into. Thank you.
So I'm calling an audible here. Usually we would be playing the children's recessional as we send the kids to Sunday school time, religious education. My understanding today is they get donuts. So, but they don't get coffee. So sugar, no caffeine today. But normally we would sing children's recessional, but today I just asked Randy if he could play through one time number 109 as we come marching, marching, because that is the Bread and Roses song. And now we have our chalice lighting. As Joe lights our chalice, please join me in saying these words together when they're on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Together, we care for our earth and work for friendship and peace in our world.
Late last night, so far away, I dreamed myself a dream. I dreamed I was so all alone. But isn't it nice to be home again? They said, welcome home. Didn't we miss your smiling face? Though the sun was nice in LA. Sunshine, isn't it nice to be home again? They said, welcome home. Didn't we miss your smiling face? Yeah, the sun was nice in LA. Sunshine, isn't it nice to be home again? Well, I said, isn't it nice to be home again? Yes, I said, isn't it nice to be home again?
Thank you, Gretchen and Randy. Please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. These words are by James Ishmael Ford, Returning to the World. As we attempt to walk responsibly on this planet, we need perspective. If we hope to make a difference, we need a place from which to act. What are the Buddhist insights that can make our lives deeper and more productive? This is the purpose of zazen and koans. I walk down to the corner store and get a quart of milk. I sit in the playground and sing a silly song with the children. The point is to return. To find our depth is to return to daily life. We wander the world to find that wisdom is always here. It is always right at home. This is the secret of the Zen way. We sit quietly or walk quietly. Perhaps we engage koans. We visit with a friend. To sit on a hillside with the rivers and the earth, the grasses and trees, and enjoy that full round moon shining overhead is the fullness of Zen, and indeed the fullness of our humanity. The point of Zen is just this: emptying. And out of this emptying, returning home. Our personal identities are exactly identical with the great emptiness. We must learn this truth with our bodies and with our minds, complete. To find genuinely open hands, we must come to know ourselves. There is a great deal to this returning with open hands. There is an ethic of enlightenment. There are many consequences to our realization that in one aspect of genuine reality, we are all one. When we truly attend, we may discover some of how it can be done profitably. The way of intimacy is a way of respect and beauty and grace. All I want to do is to remind you, my friend, of the beauty and grace of this moment. This is home. This very place is where we find wisdom. This moment reveals what needs to be done and what can be left alone. Whatever traditions we claim, whatever religion we embrace, this moment shows its truth. This right here and now moment is the great play of existence, of life and death, of all that was and is and shall be. This very moment is both the doorway to heaven and heaven itself. Our teachers and friends who have walked the way before stand at the door, beckoning to us. They give us a broad wink. A crooked finger wiggles at us, beckoning us, welcoming us. All we need do is step through. And let's observe 1 minute of silence. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
justice, roots on the thrones, we set thee free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I share this reading, Come Yet Again Come, by Anne Slater. The Persian poet Rumi challenges us, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. And we come from rich heritages of liturgy and pomp. We come from burning legacies of angry gods and threats of hellfire. We come just as we are. We come with exuberant and joyful hearts, eager to witness to others. We come bereft of the goodness of life, wondering, hesitant. We come just as we are. We come in the bloom of youth, ready to explore new truths. We come ready to sit apart from our children and be nourished for an hour. We come with our gray hair and experiences to share. We come just as we are. We come to the place we never knew before was home. We come to the place that has been home for most of our lives. We come just as we are to join brothers and sisters as members of one family in this beloved home. Our hands and our hearts outstretched. Come, yet again come.
It's a holiday weekend. Maybe you have nothing better to do than listen to a long sermon, but I don't want to drone on today, so I'll be briefer than usual. I've spent the past 4 weeks talking about road trips, and we've reached the end of the series, arrived at the road trip's final exit, come home. Miles are behind you, you're back at your base, and it's a time to reflect on where you were, to be here now on arrival, and to consider how your road trip will stay with you, maybe even inform your ways going forward. What do you bring with you at the end of a journey? Are you yourself changed? More immediately, are you and your traveling partner, your family, still talking? If not, please work on that and figure out why you didn't get along in the car or on the train or bus, and make amends, please. I hope you're the better for your journey personally. Even for a little trip, maybe some experience from the road can stay with you, inform you in how you'd like to live, or even say you never want to do that again, but at least it was instructive. Back in the city, will you do better in Toledo, as one of our city slogans goes, or wherever your home is? That's really not city specific today. Rather, did the trip help your good frame of mind? Maybe the city grew on you by your being away from it. Seeing how other cities are different and how you and your home place have come to some agreement on a decent coexistence, or even a true way of doing better where you live than anywhere else you might have inhabited or that you might move to. Speaking from this platform, you will do better in Toledo isn't a business-centered feel-good statement, but an encouraging aspect of spiritual wellness. That the pace of our city and the people who make it thrive are what can fit you well, so that you can have some type of soul comfort amid the chaos of living today, wherever home might be. The question at the end of your travel really is how the journey changed you as a person, whether in your outlook, your healing in a way. For sometimes road trips reduce anxiety and can lead to better physical health. And even how you might have changed in your thinking or attitude. If part of your travel was spent with a little self-analysis or concentrated time for you to focus on yourself. If your road trip was for only a few hours, some of that won't apply, but maybe even for the Sunday drive, it could. A brief escape from the regular could be all that's needed. Getting back home, is it the same old stuff as when you started the trip? Most certainly it is. But are you the same person? I hope not. You did hear the just as I am from the meditation parts and other things, but we always change continually. So as I am is not as I was, it's not static. Every Sunday, we have a brief time in our morning hour for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. And we bring up some issues early in our Sunday assembly for us to have on our minds, in our hearts, with our spirits throughout our religious service. The road trip can be an extended version of these moments if you let that in. In other words, a centered calm, if I can call an inner focus, that is possible. Live your Unitarian Universalism while you travel and try to live it better when you come home. As well, I do point out that you don't have to go on the road to relax. After you've come home, you might find ways for downtime close by. It's still the season when you could sit in a recliner and take a nap in the yard. And here's where I had supplied a picture. Each week for road trips, you can sleep as well, just not behind the wheel. It's still the season when you could sit in a recliner and take a nap in your yard. Seek out balance for work and rest and play, for others and self, for family and friends. For many of us, it's not a well-designed navigation, but we try. That's all we can really do, isn't it? For this is life, and we're part of all that is happening. Sometimes we can determine what happens for us, and then we can't. But the road trips give us breaks to routine, alternatives to the chaos we regularly face. Plus, remember, there are many road trips that can be taken in a comfortable chair by reading books and writing in other media about travel, watching journey movies and television shows, and just sitting with your own thoughts of elsewhere. Road trips give us chances at pilgrimage, adventure, diversion, and parties. Then we come home, in essence the same as we were, but maybe changed a little bit too. We've experienced other ways than our usual. We've been there and back, and maybe we really have grown in some aspect. We've come home, and let's be the better for it. Make your road trips special. They can be so much more than just traveling there and back. And there's one thing I want to add while we're concluding this series. When I spoke 3 weeks ago on Road Trips Adventure, I included a bit on two people whose road trip adventure was to travel to every Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, 22 of them in the US and Canada. Well, we learned news Saturday that Jimmy Buffett died this week. We appreciate the laid back persona of the parrot head, Caribbean focused performer. I'm sure there will be people taking road trips to Margaritavilles. Probably not all of them now that that's been done. In tribute to Jimmy Buffett, he traveled this life well. We don't know what death brings, but we do know life here, and he was one to celebrate and travel. And as I did a few weeks ago, I'll note the Unitarian Universalist friendly meditative words, a Jimmy Buffett quotation on the walls of many Margaritavilles. Breathe in, breathe out, move on. My main hope on coming home from a road trip is to be refreshed. Who wants to travel alongside trouble or get back the worse for the wear? Even if it's a trying journey, find some good and bring that with you. Then be at home. And look for the next trip, however soon or distant. Be on the move, but also stop and rest. So be it.
We come now to the offering portion of our service. If you believe what the world needs now, in addition to the song that says, "Love, sweet love," is a religion based on reason, mutual respect, and inclusion, not dogma and division, then you realize why First Unitarian of Toledo must remain a beacon for liberal values and social justice in this community. This requires more than goodwill. It requires volunteerism, offerings, and pledges. And there are many ways that you can support these goals with your gifts. And they are being shown, some of them will be shown now on this screen. You can aim your camera, your phone camera, at this QR code. That's one opportunity to give. You can go to our website, uutoledo.org, click on Give, and then on Online Giving. You can also send checks to First Unitarian Church of Toledo, 3205 Glendale, Toledo 43614. And there's also, as you leave the sanctuary on your left-hand side, there is a collection basket. We are grateful for contributions for whatever amount you give. Thank you.
And our offertory hymn is number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. You may remain seated while we sing. For coming soon. I'm adding an announcement after you do the words.
Softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, every sheltering walls are thin. May they be strong to keep hate out. again.
It's the coming soon part of our service where we tell you what's on the calendar for next week. We give you some announcements, and we also let you know what's up for right after the service. Next Sunday at 9:45 a.m., our spiritual forum returns after a summer of just chilling out with coffee and conversation. Our Director of Lifelong Learning, Jenny Gottman, is still putting the spiritual forum schedule together, so please start the new program year here next week at 9:45 on Sunday. And then the 11 a.m. service is our in-gathering, the traditional start of our church year. We'll have a water ceremony, and we'll supply the water. And I'll give a sermon titled Crawford Lake. And one more item for next Sunday. After the service, we'll have a potluck lunch, so please bring a dish with you. Our order of service says that hot chicken for sandwiches will be provided, along with some basic beverages, so you might plan your dish around that.
And a Unitarian Action panel discussion titled "And Justice for All" is scheduled for Tuesday, September 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. here at the church. We're hoping that all of you will want to attend and invite others you think would be interested in the program and to learn more about values of the Unitarians. We have a great panel of 7 leaders from our community, CEOs of the Neighborhood Health Association and Fair Housing Center, Municipal Court Judge Timothy Kuhlman, the Director of Racial Justice from the YWCA, the Vice Chair of the Board of Equality Toledo, and 2 staff members from ABLE, that's Advocates for Basic Legal Equality, and Legal Aid of Western Ohio. These folks are here to discuss how their organizations are promoting justice for all. It is important that you also be here because our congregation promotes justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. With this panel discussion, it's hoped that attendees will learn about putting justice and love into action in our everyday lives. Also, our church rummage sale will take place in Fellowship Hall on Saturday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're asking you to start gathering your find cast-offs, but don't bring them to church until September 9, this coming Saturday, as we won't have much storage space until the week from before the sale. Thanks for helping the church raise some funds through your stuff, and we hope that you will be volunteering for the sale and also spend a few dollars yourself.
And one more thing from me. You might have seen that there are a number of plants, including a tree, outside our main doors. They've been given to the congregation in hopes that they'll have good homes. So please take what you'd like. This is a continuation from when we received 29 peace lilies by surprise, and more plants have turned up. So if you'd like some, take them. They're free. Give them good care. The donor told me that they also have more trees and root-bound plants, and I could put you in touch if you want to follow up. Those plants outside don't get good care just sitting where they are. So if you want some greenery, please take as much as you want.
And for our final coming soon entry is for me to invite all of you to join us after today's service for coffee, conversation, and social time in Fellowship Hall, just down the hallway to your left.
And as we prepare to leave this Sunday service, please join me in sending our chalice flame into the community. Let's say these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our postlude is a congregation sing number 324, Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads.
Where my free spirit onward leads, well, there shall be my way. By my own light illumined, I've journeyed night and day. By age a time-worn cloak I wear, as once I wore my youth. I celebrate life's mystery. I celebrate death's truth. My family is not mine, mother, maid, and child, but it includes all creatures, be they wild. My family on this earth includes all living things on land and in the ocean deep or born, aloft on wings I stand. The ever-spinning universe, well, there shall be my home.